Hey guys, welcome to Approach the Nerd. And sorry for the delay. Something was going on with StreamYard as usual. And so I didn't want to start, so I had to keep restarting it to get it to allow me to do the stream this morning. But I am here, and we are here to talk about the Owl House. Pretty good episode. It was interesting because we finally got to see a little bit more about Willow. I love Willow, and I love that my girl was pumping iron once again. She was training like she was about to do a 10K or like a triathlon. So I absolutely love it. I love how she's gotten a lot more confident and a lot more secure. Even though when she was looking in the mirror, she was like, "Oh, I can do this, right?" but I love that they're making her like this independent character. It is light years different than season 1. So very happy about that. And in this episode, we have 3 stories that we're following. We follow Hunter's journey, we follow Willow's journey, and then we follow Luce and Amity's quest. So let's start with Willow. So Willow is obsessed with flying derbies. She's played them at home. She wants to actually start a team. And unlike Grudgeby, she really wants this to become like the next sports thing at Hexside. But she's trying to recruit, witches to play that are going to be able to play, and it's proving to be difficult. Now, the teacher that Willow kind of annoyed and made angry by dropping his class, he's in charge of approving what clubs you can and cannot have. And so he tells her that he doesn't want to do it. Then he's like, okay, well, if you do it, then you have to prove that it's worth me, signing off on. So get a team together. And, basically, if you win the match, I'll let you have the team. So that's where her story starts. Simultaneously, Hunter is sewing on his little golden seal, and he's not doing a very good job on his cape because it was damaged in his last fight because he can't sew. He doesn't know what he's doing. And Bellows leaves him in charge of all the coven heads. And instead of listening to him, they cancel the meeting and they leave. And the only one that kind of stays behind is Darius, who proves to be a very interesting character in this. He's very complex, and I actually like him. But he's basically like, I served under your predecessor. He was an amazing witch. You're nothing like him, basically. You didn't. And, of course, Hunter's like, well, Bellows said, I don't have to have magic to be, to lead the, the covens. And he's like, yeah, whatever. So he's like, you don't deserve to wear this, this cloak with the seal. So he takes it. And then Hunter's like, well, what do I have to do to get it back and to prove myself? And he's like, well, I don't know. Go find some emperor recruits for the Emperor's Coven. So Hunter's like, I will. So he decides to go to Hexside, and he approaches a bunch of students. They kind of like blow him off because once you say, oh, do you want to join the Emperor's Coven? You're going to leave your family and friends forever. That's not a good selling point. So he's obviously not attracting anybody. But Willow sees him running from a paladin. I think it was a paladin. It was actually one of the people that was going to be on the team. It was her palisman that was chasing him and he was flying really quickly. So it almost reminded me of Harry Potter and Quidditch, like how fast he was flying. And so Willow uses her, plant magic, of course, and pulls Hunter in and asks about him. And he's like, oh, my name is Caleb, because they've never seen Hunter. Only Luce and Amity know, and of course, Ida and King know what Hunter looked like. So, he pretends to be this guy named, Caleb who transferred from, I think he said toes. He was just pulling stuff out of his butt. And, he was like, I'm here to find very, worthwhile witches, powerful witches. And so Willow's like, well, I'm starting a team and you should be on it. And she's like, take the flyer. Because first he says no. And he looks at the flyer and he's like, oh, you're going to be getting like, the coolest, most, talented witches. Sure, I'll join. So she has her team. She has, basically Gus. I forgot the other two's names. I knew it a minute ago, but I can't. But one's a strategic genius. One's a healer. Then you have, of course, Hunter and Willow. And they're actually a pretty good team. And so as they're training, well, first of all, when Hunter first sees them, he immediately writes them off. It's pathetic. Like he just does, which is so interesting because he's like, I'm a half witch. So I don't have any powers. So you would think he would not be as judgmental, because he should know that you should never judge a book by its cover, because even though he had no powers, when he took on Amity in the past, he actually did a really good job at getting away from her and, getting the Titan's blood. So he's not weak. And so I don't know why he doesn't think that others are like that, but it's a thing. But he kind of wrote them off, and Willow basically uses her plant magic to just basically shove them onto the training field. And then he starts seeing just how cool everybody actually is and how skilled they are. Long story short, though, they do win the match against the team the teacher put together very quickly, which I thought was ironic. I don't know how he promised them, but it's funny. And they end up calling themselves the Emerald Entrails. But then Hunter, who has zero socialization skills, he's like, oh yeah, by the way, my name's really Hunter, and I actually came in to recruit you all for the Emperor's Coven, and you don't have a choice. And of course, Darius sends some more minions to go and some of the Emperor's Guard basically to take them and imprison them to force them to train to be in the Emperor's Coven. Now, this is where it gets interesting. So Hunter starts feeling bad. There's another guy, I think his name was Steve, who trained with him, and he's talking about all the stuff they had to go through when they joined the Emperor's Coven, and being left on a mountain and having their palismans taken and destroyed and all that. And so Hunter starts feeling bad. And then Darius is a character that's just so uninvolved in everything that he's doing. He's just like, meh. And he talks to Darius, and Darius is like, you may be coming here on my day off. And he gives him back his cloak with his seal on it, and tells him that it's so, actually, that tells him that later. But basically, he tells him that he's going to prep them to get them ready to transport. But what Hunter doesn't know is Darius had no intention of taking them to the Emperor's Coven. He feels they have enough recruits, and he was going to drop them back off at Hexside. But Hunter decides to go and rescue them. And, they create, basically Darius creates an illusion of them jumping off the ship, and they take control of the ship. And then, they're basically taking on Darius, who is the head of the abomination, coven. And then what's so interesting to me is that all of that was a test. But Darius actually liked the fact that Hunter came in and stood up for them and said, hey, you don't want them. They're not coven material, blah, blah, blah. Then he started showing respect for him. He's like, you know what? I didn't think you were worthwhile, but now basically I do. And he gave him back his cloak with a fixed seal on it and told him that he still needed sewing lessons. But now I'm kind of wondering, in the Emperor's group or coven themselves, how many of the the coven leaders or heads actually don't follow Bellows? Because Darius is not going to tell him what happened with Hunter. And he also knows that Hunter has his own palisman, and he's not saying anything. And he actually was proud of him. So now I'm like, I'm very curious now how many of the coven heads actually are conspiring against Bellows. Because it seems like that's a thing. I feel like Darius just showed a very powerful card that we didn't see, but I feel like that is a thing. So Darius is proving to be a very cool character. I'm really, really liking it. And I feel bad because, Hunter did kind of bond with Willow and the team. And I think in another world, he definitely would have been at school and been on the team with them and would have been friends with them. So I think he got his first taste of what it's like to have friends outside of his time meeting with Luce. So we'll see where that goes from there. But I mean, him being the heir to all of Bellos's, kingdom, basically, kind of tells me once again what I said last week. He definitely is the placement body for Bellows. He's there to inhabit, and it's sad. And I don't think he realizes it yet. And it's just very sad. It's a sad fate, especially if it happens, because I think they're going to make us love Hunter even more, just to potentially actually make it so he's not killed off, but his spirit's completely gone from his body. I don't know. It's something I thought about. And then, of course, we had Luce. Luce is trying to start a book club, of course, because her and Amity have one for their favorite author of their Azora book series. I love when Luce was trying to recruit people, and Amity shows up out of breath, and she's like, speak beautiful. Like, she calls her beautiful in Spanish. Lumity is so cute to me. I'm sorry. And so Luce is basically saying, but our Arthur's going to be at the Book Nook and doing a signing. And then they start talking. And then, of course, Amity's like, why aren't you more excited? And Luce is like, because she's human. Why is she here? Basically. And Amity's like, no, she's not. She's from the demon realm. I mean, where do you think I got my books? And so they're both looking at the pictures like, what? And so they decide to go and see for themselves, because Luce is like, maybe she's a realm hopper. She can go back and forth on the, between the realms. So they're off to the Book Nook. just to find out that the signing was canceled. And Luce is beside herself. She's so sad. And, Amity's trying to cheer her up, and they're just sitting there like kind of wrapped up in each other. And then they see what they believe is the author running away. So they chase her. And, I loved how Luce tries ice to stop her, and she bypasses that. Amity creates an abomination, and she makes a hole through it and jumps through that. So, but they finally get to her. The reason they catch her is she's too short to climb up this wall, which I thought was hilarious. They just really kind of just waited it out. But then Amity recognizes her as Tielanosa. And so they follow her back to, what we learn is a very intricate scam, because Tibbles found a bunch of the books and was trying to, pass it off as, a really popular book series. But only one person bought the book, and it ended up being Amity, who didn't realize it was a scam, which I thought was really funny. And then we have Bartholomew, who was basically doctoring the pictures, which I thought was really, really funny. But yeah, long story short, the best part of their adventure together was Amity coming up with different theories on why the author was a realm hopper. My favorite was her saying something along the lines of Luce's mother being actually a witch who, who travels to the future and writes these books in order to help train her daughter. She was coming up with all kinds of stuff. It was hilarious. Luce, I think, thought it was maybe Ida, and that she was masking, pretending not to be the author because she was embarrassed. I mean, I really loved all their little theories. I thought that was really cute. But yeah, it didn't pan out, but at least they got to spend time together. But when they all met up at the end, after Willow and everybody was back, Luce and Amity come up and they're like, hey, did we miss anything? And then they said, oh, well, we won. We're the Emerald, entrails. And then here's a picture of us. And of course, Amity and Luce look at the picture and they're like, what? That's Hunter. And it's actually really, really funny to me. And I love how at this point, Willow and them know who it is, but the reaction still was absolutely hilarious when they showed the picture. And I love that also Hunter got on their version of Instagram and made an account, and they're like, he's a slow typer, a very, very slow typer. So that I love this little dynamic with them. So I don't know. I have high hopes for Hunter. I have hope that Hunter is not going to be the character that gets killed off just because Bellows needs a body. But it is worrying me a lot because I really feel like that could be a thing. And I'm also really worried about Bellows' overall Day of Unity plan. But what's so interesting is I really feel like Luce and her crew have allies, especially when it comes to Darius. I feel like they don't like what's going on. And because they don't like what's going on, rather it's because they realize that Bellows doesn't have true natural magic, or they just don't like what he's doing. Maybe some of them don't feel like it is fair that not everybody can learn every form of magic. I think that there is a small rebellion happening within Bellows' ranks, and he doesn't realize it. And I know that Darius potentially is part of it. So I'm excited about that. I, for some reason, think that Rain may be playing both sides of the field too. I don't know if he has completely forgotten Ida, or if he remembered Ida after their last encounter and he's just playing along. I don't know why, but somehow I feel like Rain may be in it with Darius and some of the others. So, including the woman making him tea to forget. It would be interesting to see if that is actually what's happening, that they are their own little rebellion, because that just kind of adds, more complexity to the plot. And I am completely here for that. I think that would be very cool. It's a thing. It is a thing. I like, hey, Mercenary. Basha has kind of become a background character literally in this episode. I do hope to see more from her, though. Yeah, I think they just have so many characters they don't know what to do with. Like, look at Willow. We've seen Willow as a background character, and sometimes even Gus for a while. They'll get like that one spotlight episode, and then we don't really see them a lot. I will say, if we're talking about Gus, Willow and Gus, though, their friendship, I love. I love how Willow is so nervous about starting this team, and then before they realized that Hunter was Caleb, or Caleb was Hunter, should I say? I do love how Gus was like, Willow's worked really hard, and she really wants this. Don't screw this up for her. And I'm like, oh, he's got his BFFs back. So I love how Gus is so loyal to Willow. I really love that because they essentially are BFFs. But I did notice that a lot of characters become background. It's just that they really have so many, and this is the last season. So like, it's very stressful. You have this whole plot line to like wrap up. So quite frankly, I don't know if we're going to get everybody's stories told. I know that again, there are plans to have either a special, a miniseries, or movies, and then 1 or 2 movies following this. But yeah, I'm super sad that this is the last season, and I'm very nervous to see how it ends. And I don't think we have the full season 2. So I'm in my feelings a little bit about it because I really love the Owl House, and I have my theories on why it was canceled. But I don't know. Like I said, there's a lot going on. A lot. We still have to deal with King and his basically his dad and what happened. And I know that that is an episode that I've seen coming up. So we are actually going to have King's background addressed in an episode. So I'm super excited about that. If I looked at next week's synopsis correctly, it is definitely a Lumity episode, and they're doing something akin to the Fight Club, where Luce is basically trying to help Amity impress her dad by, I guess, entering these witch battles. And I'm really interested to see how that plays out. So that's probably going to be one of my favorite episodes this season. We are definitely going to see that. I just need to know what is going to happen with Hunter, because Hunter it's making me nervous. I love him. I love his palisman, and I'm very nervous that Belos is going to be one of the ones that, or he's going to be the one that's trying to inhabit his body. And I don't know if Hunter will recover from that, because he is extremely loyal to Belos. And yes, sometimes he does do things and doesn't want Belos to know, but he, like Darius says, you're very good at doing what you're told. And I'm hoping that what we saw in this episode was Hunter proving that he is not going to just do what he's told. And that gives me a little hope that maybe he will not have his body taken over. That's just my opinion. But I mean, who knows? It might happen, actually. So that's the thing about the Owl House. Anything is possible. So I honestly think that if anybody's going to figure out how to be able to travel back and forth between the realms, it is going to be Luce. And I don't think that she's going to leave Amity and Ida and King and her friends forever because her mother wants her to. I think maybe her mother's going to see how unhappy and miserable she is and allow her to go back and forth. Maybe she'll let her continue to go to school there and then come home during the summers or something like that. So, or maybe her mother will go there. Who knows? But I really think that that's something that's going to play out. I don't think that Luce is done with her adventures, in Boiling Isles. So I don't think that's going to, when she figures out how to go home. Which still is really interesting that, Amity is such a supportive girlfriend that she's trying to help her figure out how to go home, knowing that her mother doesn't want her to come back to the Boiling Isles ever. So she'd be losing her girlfriend. So that's why I really like Amity a lot. I just don't want them to break up because, that's normally a trope I see in shows when one character's like, well, I'm going to leave anyway, and I don't want to bring you down or hurt you. So let's just end it now, not realizing you're already hurting them, so I don't want that to be a thing with Lumity, but it's possible. That is a possibility. But yeah, anytime we have anything at Hexside, I get excited. Like, I love the school. I love the dynamic. And it's sad because I don't think we have time to focus completely on the school. And it really, really sucks. Because I'm assuming this is a new term if this was club day. And also the locker situation at the beginning where the lockers were chasing Gus and Luce, trying to eat them. And of course, Will had to come and save them. And then Gus was like, this is why we try not to put our lunches in our locker. That is really messed up. And I remember in the last season that people were able to go into a locker to go into another room or whatever. And like all of a sudden now the locker is alive and chasing them. So is that something that always happened, or is it something that, I don't know. It's very interesting. This world is very interesting to me. I really love it. So, but yeah, that is it. But overall, very, very good episode. Very impressed with how Hunter was in this episode. Very impressed with, Luce and Amity, especially Amity supporting Luce in her journey to find a way home. And then of course, Willow. I love anytime they spotlight Willow. Willow has my last name, Willow Park. So I'm like very excited whenever she has any screen time. And I'm very happy that she has a lot of character growth because she's not the scared little witch that she was in season 1. She is actually proven to be very formidable and badass. And she was actually willing to continue fighting Darius alongside Hunter when he was saving them. And I thought that was really cool. So very happy. I am very, very happy. I love how you said the mask didn't fit Hunter anymore. Subtle foreshadowing. Yeah, because he's grown out of that. And he's not supposed to have that mask on. He's not supposed to be the Golden Guard. Who are the other recruits? That's something that kind of interests me. Me too. I really want to know what's going on. Darius is dropping hints a lot in this episode. Let's see. Hunter needs to keep on keeping on secret identity. He gives me major awkward Zuko vibes. He really does. maybe that's what they were going for. They seem to, pull from a lot of different popular, genres. So, more than likely that's what it is. But we'll see. We will see. But all right, we are at almost 20 minutes. That is a short episode, very cool episode. They're all short, but I love them so much. But yeah, if you have any other questions or opinions, please leave a comment below and let me know. And if it is day for you, have a very good day. If it is night for you, have a very good night. And I will see you in my next video and my next stream. Bye, guys.